going to begin on page.
Is lifting on page 10 or is that?
He named my voice. We'll begin with he. Page 2 for our candle blessing. Danielle would. Remember both. Malachei Hasharei Mi Melech Malachei Hamloachem L'Shalom Malachei Mi Melech Malachei Mi Melech Ruchu Tzedchem Elyon HaKadosh Baruch
Divrachir teviamlik malchutehon uchaede robet Yisrael bizman kariyach ve'alam u'al me'alma yishtabak v'yidpar v'yitramam v'yitalal shmei dekudasham b'richu shbechat avanechem amen.
Please rise if you are able. Melech haolam, arim, uvitvuna mishaneh itim, aleinu leolam va'ed. On page 33, symbol. All these things your Torah gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love? Ohev amo Yel Adonai Elechad Oro Leolam
Ve'ahavta shecha uvechol me'odecha ve'anochi metzavecha ve'nibarta b'am ve'shivta becha u'kumecha u'necha u'ktavtam al mezuzkeru ve'asetem et kol Adonai Elohechem yot lachem le'elohim
Emet. Page 39. We pray to a promised land, that the winding way to there, except by joining hands, marching. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al. On page 42, we pray together. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us beneath the shadow of your wings. Is spread over us, over all your people, Israel. Shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Between me and the people, God ceased from work and was refreshed. Adotecha, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Rachel, Elohei El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim Mahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neru Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Morid HaGashem, Mechakeh Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim, Umekayem Emunato, Chabal Gevurot, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Mechayeh HaKol Chasela, Baruch Atah Adonai. May be seated. Of rest and renewal, may all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill. Eloheinu be'amilahatam be'ahavatzon tamid utehilamecha baruch vadecha be'yira vadecha be'yira. On page 50, Ancestors Forever. You are the rock of our lives, for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls at every time of day. O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever ever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer, blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are Shalom Ra. Ki atahu melech Adon, ki atahu melech. Shalom Ra, Shalom Ra Yisrael, Shalom Ra, Shalom Ra Olam, Tasim Leolam. Baruch Atah Adonai, hum of violent prayers of our heart.
Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Israel.
We continue now with our Torah service.
Mitzion Tetzeh Torah, Udevaruk Shenatan Torah, Torah, Leo Shema Yisrael Echad Einu Kadosh Shemo Ve'anetz Ve'amit Naseh Eloheinu Omemu Adonai Ki Kadosh Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Ve.
The page we will be reading from is going to be on page 523. Our Torah portion this week is Parshat Mishpat. When we just had Parshat Yitro, at the same time we were also being given things like the Ten Commandments. It gives a little bit more of those in-depth types of, which is again a description of the giving or the blessing before the reading of Torah, is on page 2. Baruch Adonai Hamavarach. You shall be, you and Aaron, 70 of the elders of Israel. V'hishtachu shel levado, and Moses will go and v'yisaper la'am et kol divrei, all of the words of God, ve'et shvatim, na'aseh, we shall divrei Adonai. So Moses wrote down all of these words, but we translate it rather as at the bottom of the meds. So that's where this comes from. U'shtei Masrei sent off these, or commissioned, if you will, these v'chu zevachim, or v'ya'alu olot, they offered up parim, and they offered up these zevach shlamim, chatzi hadam, half of the blood, v'yasem ba'aganoach, and the other half of the blood, he sprinkled, and he took the book of the covenant, v'yikra kol asher diber Adonai na'aseh v'nishma, all that Adonai has spoken, na'aseh v'nishma. And Moses took the blood, vayizrok al ha'am, Omer, and said, Hine dam habrit, and he said, this is al kol hadivarim ha'ela. Let's join together. Inu melech haolam, asher natanu, baruch atah Adonai, notein. For Israeli soldiers or civilians who are being held captive, the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble, sending them our prayers, that they be protected from all captives in wholeness of body and spirit. Grant of life, grant strength of spirit and courage of heart to all bonds of captivity, healing. If you think Ken Rosenzweig, Marlene Mayman, Linda, Jeremy Watt, Eleanor Must, Catherine Cooper, Sid Gross, Steve Samuels, and Jane Zawalski. Mishaberach others in every blessings for a refuah shlema, a complete reclaim. Blessed are you, O God, who brings healing to all in need of healing. On page 253. With refuah of body, the renewal. Look at that, though. All of it is pretty. Moses is going up and down the mountain all the time, and that this isn't a problem is because this is part of why the rabbis often. So we don't know that Moses has already given it to the people or that they've already heard me, but it's supposed to help answer them. And it appears that where Moses goes up, if they accept God's covenant, and so they respond again tonight. And so it was that after things that God has commanded, we will do. But it's then on the third, we will do and obey, or we will do and hope. If not, it is now. Na'aseh v'nishma. And if we think about what it means to hear, we know that, but we hear when we're listening. And it. Other translators, and I think in the faithfully of Torah, we're taught that we should obey them first before we and we will hear before, and again, there's no early and no late, before added to God's law. Has anyone heard that? It is significant, as I said, that there's no chronologic order for it. It said he wrote them down and read them to them. This way, that they will do it, and then they will hear it. But there are others who look at Na'aseh v'nishma and ask a different question, which is, or study over action. So does the fact that it says that is the order in which it was intended? So most traditional perspective, offered in Mechilta de Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, these were the other, we will do what we understand. But the two of them must be together, the doing and the... To interpret this, of course, a couple of them, with Nishma indicating all of those that would come in the future, according to Rashbam. Or we're told that Nishma, commandments, so that we will do them, but then as they're given orally later, suggested we will do, not just how in... there are others that go in a different direction entirely, made them like the angels. They sort of got the secret from the angels. seeming irrational, having not understood it. And we will hear is synonymous, it is that which is hidden. She takes this idea, then they move on to the next thing. And I guess my first thought, or my first question to you is, opportunity to share your thoughts. If you feel taking precedence over understanding, or do they have to go together? Would anyone like to share some thoughts? Joel was going to be the first person to say something. Joel, did you have anything you wanted to? That's where my mind just first went, because he always participates. Sure. The rules are there before they're capable. Okay. They simply need to do to prevent themselves from harm, not quite understanding it, but as they grow into adults and have higher levels of learning, like in college level, that they may choose to understand it before they can enact it, because that's the way that their brains work. When it comes to God, is that the same? I'm asking the question that's not a leading question. Thou shouts. Okay. Do the thou shouts, the na'aseh, not the nishma, because that is what I heard you say was ethical. Those are the way that we behave in society, that we act towards one another. I would say that rather than saying those are the thou shouts, I would go with the ethical commandments are the ones that are most important, because I think as a Reformed community we often separate those out between the ones that don't quite make sense, which are those the rule. Is that a fair understanding of what you were trying to say? Wearing the two different types of fabric. That's not the same type of thing as you were talking about when I said thou shalt. So. Anyone else? I didn't particularly care for that one. Although Menachem Mendel of Kotsk, he looks at this and he says, yes, and says, and what the special thing that makes the Israelites able to do, and then to. So it is through the power of the. Because I think that but I found something, and I was actually surprised that this person is actually working by hand, stroke by tedious stroke. Why was this really necessary? Prior to writing down God's words, Moses transmitted them to the people orally. He instructed them about all the laws and commandments that God had told him directly, and the people responded, Na'aseh, we will do. Based on this, the people fully expected that they would act in accordance with what God wanted to then go and write down these sayings. When he does this, the people respond differently with Na'aseh v'nishma. She continues, I want to suggest that the act of writing down the Torah, that the painstaking attention Moses gave to writing each letter of the Torah, modeled for the people their call, or our call, to take it seriously in our lives, to pay attention to the sacred that surrounds us in every moment, in every stroke of the quill. We're not just expected to live out the commandments blindly, doing them exactly as we've been instructed, but rather we're called to pay close attention to their role in our lives and the value of these ritual actions. I really loved that, because in a time and an age when we could easily photocopy or print off a Torah, we ourselves wrote a Torah, and we know that it takes about a year to a year and a half. And we do this so that it's not only about doing, but it is written down so carefully in the quill. So that's my little bit of inspiration for you tonight. It comes from this Rabbi Bonnie Cott services. I hope that you will, because you always have interesting things to add to our conversation. We'll turn to page 256. Please rise. At this time, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death, and a period of Shloshim for Ken Andrews. We are also observing those yahrzeits for those who died at this season in years past. We recall Belle Hubert Jacobs, Lester M. Kussworm, Myrtle Winters Feinberg, Louise May Colstein, Thomas Brown, Jack H. Sophian, Alan Menikoff, Bruce Lang, Saul Rosenthal, Geraldine Bloom, Melvin Peerless, Rita Lieberman, Marcus Ritter, Minnie B. Engelman, Bert Unger, Amelia Efster Rosen, Sid Dickstein, Bertha Frank, Ida Cohn, Roy Harlan, Albert Fox, Elsie Goodman, Melvin Mayerson, Harry Mellett, Gustav Bloomer, Ann Abiman, Rose S. Beller, Isidore Schmerin, Theodore Bernstein, Larkin Ray Barnett, Abe S. Jacobs, Lenora S. Farrer, Doris Galler, Dr. Abram R. Weprin, Esther Weissman, Rose Schumann, Pearl Lahner, Barbara Levin. If there are other names that we would like to I'd like to invite all who are remembering or in mourning to please rise. And we, together as a group, read the words on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon la uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rab v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal, shmei dekudsha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mroma, may their memories always and only be for a blessing. As we conclude our service, if you'd like to be seated, you may. We can turn, do we have a choice? 321 Adon Olam or 322 for Ein Eloheinu. Those in favor of Adon Olam, raise your hands. Mich Eloheinu, mich Adonenu, mich Malkeinu, mich Moshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu. We have a hybrid, as well as we will have Saturday morning services for anyone who would like to join us. Shabbat Shalom.